All right, we're live. We're going to be answering a lot of questions today on development. And we've been talking a lot about AI recently on the channel, so there's going to be an AI focus today, especially if you have a question like that. But we're going to be doing a quick stream, so if you have any questions, just ask them in chat, and we'll do our best to get to them by the end. So just go ahead and drop those in chat whenever you have them, and we'll get started with the first question here as soon as possible. I just have to pull up the chat real quick and then I'll be getting to those. But yeah, it's almost Christmas right now, which is kind of insane. It's the 20th. So if you're getting ready for Christmas, that's going to be something coming up here. Christmas updates are one thing. Yeah, Merry Christmas. All right. Seeing you guys in chat. For some reason, Streamlabs won't show me all the people who are chatting. Now it does. Streamlabs can be kind of annoying, but you can just open your YouTube website and you can see all your chat messages right there. All right. How long did it take you to make your first ham? I think you really are in Christmas mode right now because that typo was crazy. Unless you actually mean ham. I've never made ham before. I don't think that I want to. But I think you mean game. My first games were not good. Like nobody has a good game for their very first one. But I would say they took way too long. And the reason for that is we didn't have a deadline. So one of the biggest common new developer problems is they don't have a deadline on their project. And this can happen to developers who are a bit more experienced too. But I want you to think less about how long a game takes to make and more about the deadline that you're actually placing on that game. Because the deadline that you pick determines what you focus on. So back when I was starting development, when I was young, I was a kid. I was like 12, 11, 10, messing around. We had a Roblox group called Volt Gaming Studios where we just make games, tinker around with random people that we found on Roblox and make games together. And one of the first games was, or one of the games that we actually put some work into was called The Hinge. And The Hinge is a good example of what I'm talking about because this game didn't have a deadline and it was kind of like this horror game where this like hinge spider-like creature would just chase you around the map. And when you don't have a deadline, it's really easy for scope creep to happen. And scope creep is where we have a certain goal for our game. We want it to be this complex. We want this many systems. We want it to be this core loop. But then that just keeps expanding as time goes on. Okay, so we had our team. They made the game. And to be fair, they did actually release it. I wasn't super involved in that project. The people in the group were just kind of making it on their own. Again, this was just kids running a group back then, basically. Way back in like 2017. 2017, 2018. And they kept adding random stuff, right? As time went on. There was no deadline. There was no done state. And therefore, everything that was added was just like, oh, this would be a cool idea. Let's add this whole new part of the map. Oh, this would be a cool idea. Let's add in this giant piece of terrain over here. Oh, you know what? This would be cool. Let's make the lobby look real neat and let's add a fancy play button and all this stuff. So you start getting in all this perfectionism and adding in all these things that really aren't necessary. Now, when you say, hey, we have a game, we want it done in 2 weeks, and the goal for this game is to have it be playable, fun, and monetized. You have that, you're a lot more likely to cut out all of that crap that you don't need, all of the perfectionist, hobbyist nonsense, which happens to every dev when they're new. Oh, I want to make the next jailbreak and make this open world map. I use that as an example all the time because that's literally how most new devs think, especially younger devs who don't think of this as a business yet, don't recognize all of the economics of Roblox, don't realize how bigger teams run. You really got to be focused on having that deadline and then having an actual game that's marketable. So because we didn't have those two things, We didn't have a deadline. We didn't have a real tight scope that was focused on getting actual market results, like actual players and actual money. It was just this long-winded project with random stuff going into it that looked cool on the surface but was really boring to play, and it just fizzled out eventually. It never got players. It was fun for us as a group, but this really is how most Roblox devs operate because they're hobbyists. And hobbyist isn't an insult. It is a category. It's just a way to describe how a dev is thinking and operating, right? It's a more random approach. It's a more follow your feelings approach. Strategy first is more like, hey, we have these goals in the career that we have here. And when you have goals, the important thing that happens is not that you lose passion. You still have passion, but the passion serves that goal. So we're trying to build a career. Therefore, when we are trying to do that, we have more constraints. We're like, we can't make this game because it's too complex. It'll take 12 months to make. That won't help us to make money. But if we make this simpler game like Hot Potato, we can finish that in a few weeks. We'll be more likely to make money from it. Or if it doesn't succeed, it'll be easier to make another game right after that and try again and use the lessons from that to improve. So that's really the difference between the two. And both of them can be creative. That's a huge misconception that a lot of people have. They think, oh, if I'm strategy first, I must be this soulless cash grabber. Not really. It's just that you're placing constraints on your ideas. You might still have a really creative, unique idea, but you're cutting the fat down to an MVP, a minimum viable product. And when I'm saying this, I'm not saying this as somebody who does this perfectly all the time. I still have scope creep happen. I still have perfectionism pop in. And I can give you an example right now on this latest project. The difference is that I catch it when it's happening. I do my best to pay attention to that because I know it's very likely for your passion to start saying, hey, let's add this and this and this and this. And then soon enough, your game is taking 3 more months to launch when it was supposed to launch last week. So we're working on a shooter right now. And I found myself adding, new ideas with things like the lore, things like, oh, you guys can polish this stuff, telling my programmers, you guys can polish this. That's cool. Kind of letting ideas just kind of float by, be like, oh yeah, we can add that. And what was happening was there wasn't enough constraint on what they can do, which means the game has been taking a bit longer than it should have to release. So this week, what I'm actually doing is I'm adding a constraint. We need 6 of these mechanics, rage bait mechanics, because this is a brain rot based game. 6 rage bait mechanics, and the game is done. Because we now have an objective definition of when the game is done, now the developers are going to focus on those things rather than adding random stuff that's outside of the scope. And then that allows us to ship the game faster. And notice there's still creativity, but it's bounded creativity. And that's really what strategy first is. It's placing bounds on your creativity and then directing it towards a goal. So now I'm going to answer the next question. So we got, how much experience do I need to start modeling commissions? Or do they always ask for textures or just the model? So you don't really need a ton of experience to start commissions at all, because here's what you can do. No matter if you're a scripter, you're a builder, you're a modeler, you're a UI designer, you're an animator, you're a GFX artist, you're a VFX artist, I don't care. Whatever you do, you can always open your commissions and reject commissions that you aren't able to take. So open the door. And then if there's a commission that comes by that you can't do, just reject it. But then just take the very simple commissions. But don't shut the door before you even have commissions coming in, right? So a lot of you guys are like thinking, oh, there's this perfect state where I'll always know how to make every single model and every script, and I'll just know when I'm able to take a commission and I'll know exactly how to put it together and everything will be perfect. That time never comes. You're always going to be improving. You're always going to be like, I'm not the perfect dev yet. There isn't a finish line where somebody tells you, hey, you're allowed to take commissions now. So what you have to do instead is stop waiting. Start as soon as possible. As long as you know the basics of your skill, you're good enough to take commissions. And then go on X, go on Discord, go on your own little website, set up your commissions, open that door. And then people will come in the door. Like imagine you have a business, like say you're a carpenter. There's going to be some things you can build and some things you can't. Oh, I can make tables, but I can't make chairs. Okay, but just because you can't make chairs doesn't mean you close the door to all the business altogether. You just take the orders that you can as they come. Same thing applies to Roblox commissions. So really you're shooting yourself in the foot and letting other devs take the commissions you could be getting by not having your commissions open already. So start as soon as humanly possible is the answer. Should I make games for fun or money? The answer is neither. That's a trick question. So make games for both fun and money. And if you can only have one, it's going to be controversial to say this, but it's better to make them for money. And the reason why is that when you have money as a goal, you're actually going towards something tangible. Fun is not a tangible goal. So it makes it so you're more likely to go in random directions and never pick one. So have both, ideally, right? You're making games for fun and for money. But the money, as we were talking about before, adds constraints. And it also makes you focus on marketing. And that means you're more likely to make a successful game that way. When you focus on the money, you're going to ignore projects that aren't going to be profitable, and you're going to focus more on projects that will be profitable. A lot of the projects that will be profitable, like ones that are on a trend on Roblox, which is how I recommend you start, those projects can still be fun. And that's what people miss. They think it's one or the other. And the whole purpose of this channel is to tell you that isn't true. It's not one or the other. It's strategy first, passion second. And it's not because you're ignoring passion. It's because your strategy and the way that you guide your career and the way that you compete against other devs in a competitive environment determines how you use your passion. So if you have a lot of creative ideas, that's great, but we have to have a way to decide what deserves to get made and what doesn't. So that's really what strategy first is all about. So we got help, I burned out. How do I unburn out or something? So we got to ask how you got burnt out. You probably got burnt out by a few different things. So one of the main ways that people burn out is by trying to do too many things at once and then not finishing any of them. So you start 5 projects. It takes forever to make each one. You're working for weeks and weeks and weeks, and none of them come out because you're just tied up between all of these games. In that case, if that's why you burnt out, cut away all of the games except for the simplest one, or the one that is your favorite, right? Ideally, I would do the simplest one and the one that's going to make you the most money, but if you really want to do a certain one, you can choose that one. Isolate down to one project if you're trying to do so many of them at the same time, unless you have a team or you're super experienced. Until you're really experienced or you have a team or a lot of money, you should only focus on one game at a time. But if the burnout came from not getting results, adjust your strategy. So try different methods, right? We always talk about that. There's making games, there's taking commissions. If one of those doesn't work for you, there's always dev content, you can always try a different one. So never get locked into one method if one isn't working for you at whatever point you're at in your career. So a lot of you guys, you're probably trying to take commissions, you aren't really getting any sales. Well, try adjusting the way that you take commissions, promote in other places, maybe make some YouTube videos about it. If you really just can't get any sales, you just can't seem to do it, try something else. That's fine. You could post videos about Roblox development like what I do, teach people how to make a kill brick, how to make a laser gun. That way you can kind of make some money from your skills in a different way. And hitting search through YouTube can be a good way to actually do that with dev content for starters. Now, of course, you could also try making simple games. Whatever it is that you're trying to do in development is going to be a lot less motivating if you aren't getting results. Yo, Smarty, I have a question. I'm trying to make bee swarm simulator, but instead of bees, it's snails. So I want to ask, how do you come up with ideas that will not copy the game? I'm getting inspired. I really don't think that Snails as a game is going to be counted as copying Bee Swarm. And I think everybody here is going to agree with me. It is different enough where nobody's going to think that you're copying that game. Even if the style's similar, I think you're good. Copyright law-wise, you could look it up. You could even ask ChatGPT about this. If I make this really similar to this game, am I going to be good legally? But generally, I think you're going to be fine. How do I make money on YouTube? I'm on Mac. I want a PC so I can stream Rivals. What's the best content I can post? So with YouTube, it's hard to start out and do something like Rivals unless you have a really unique angle and high quality content that can compete with other gaming content creators. Gaming creators in particular are harder to compete against because they are very they're very good at what they do if they've been doing it for years, like say Flamingo. And also there's a lot of them. There are so many gaming creators out there. So what I'd recommend is if you really want to do gaming, consider doing educational content on that particular game first. Because educational content is a lot harder to get, it's a lot easier to get views on. So if you're posting videos on how to get better at Rivals and then you're trying to hit search, there's a lot less people going for that than people saying, oh, playing Rivals with my friends, and then hoping that gets views on the YouTube algorithm. I had somebody I know at the gym asked me, hey, Remy, how do I edit my videos? And he was also talking about what he is going to make videos about. And I told him about, okay, you can use Premiere Pro. But another thing as a piece of advice that I gave him was make educational content first, even if you want to make entertainment later. Because those search viewers will come in and they'll be like, oh, this guy's cool, right? Some of them will be like, oh yeah, this is a guy I want to watch long term. I don't just want to know how to aim better in Rivals. I want to know, I want to see his entertainment content. I want to know more about how he plays. I want to see more of his tutorials. Whereas before viewers know you, they don't really have a reason to watch your entertainment content unless it has a really good angle. So that's another thing, right? I always recommend that people who want to do Roblox content, now we're switching topics again. Another key piece of advice is to try making dev content. So development content, like what I'm doing right here, is a lot easier to get into than entertainment content, gaming content, because gaming content is highly saturated, but dev content has very few people in it. A lot of you guys have some of your top dev content creators you like to watch. Maybe you watch me, maybe you watch RoDev. There's a lot of other guys coming up as well. This space is growing, but the amount of dev content creators is a lot lower compared to the amount of gaming content creators. And if you guys want a way to dive into making Roblox content in 2025 and coming into 2026, I would start there and then add in gaming content later. It's a lot less competitive. And some of you, right, you might have the talent to make it in the gaming side of things sooner, but most of you will not get views there. That's just the harsh truth. I even find it difficult to get views in the gaming sphere. I have made a few gaming videos in the past. It's just a lot different, and especially if you're a developer and you're here, you're just going to find it easier to make the dev content. How much Robux have you made from games? So our group Jimmy Games made like 4 to 5 million Robux in total, and from that I made somewhere around 2 million Robux. But there's other sources as well that you could count and add to it. Like I would count what I do with my channel here as also Roblox development income, because this is a Roblox dev channel. And I consider dev content creation to be a part of Roblox development. So if you add that in, it's multiple tens of thousands of dollars on top of that. Yo, Smarty, I have a question I am trying to make. Okay, I already got to that one. So Knockoff Tricks, who asked the question about rivals, he also asked about how to make money. So making money on YouTube is possible in any niche, but the first thing to focus on is just getting your feet on the ground, right? So post content first, and then worry about making money after you have a few videos out. But again, my advice is the exact same thing. If you can, don't make rivals content. Make dev content, because you're here, you're probably a developer, and if you just think about this in terms of the numbers, there are a lot less people who are making development content, but this niche is growing. There's a lot more people wanting to watch it. There's millions more people who are becoming Roblox developers as time goes on. There's a demand. Flamingo and Creekcraft and every other gaming content creator who has been at it for years just adds that much more competition to the gaming sphere. There's people who are well established who people would rather watch. So don't start there. You again, don't think you can never do it, but you can transition there later on. So for me now, at my size, I could post gaming content and I could get more views on it. I could get a good few thousand views on the initial upload if I did it right. And then from there, I could build it up. I personally don't want to do gaming content. Like, if we talk about this from more of a perspective of the actual costs and the logistics of making it, it does take more time to make gaming content because, well, actually, it depends on the style. But a lot of the time, these videos have a lot of planning. They have a lot of editing. And for dev content, you often don't need all that. You can talk off the top of your head and do a development commentary video. Like most of my videos are dev commentaries where I'm talking about a topic like strategy first Roblox development or business or how to get commissions, rather than just showing you how to make something inside Roblox Studio. And those videos take a lot less time to make. So you could absolutely do something like that. And also, if you have a development skill, you won't find it too hard to teach beginner concepts. Like me, a lot of the time I'll sit here and I'll make like a Blender guide, for example. And at the end of it, I'll be like, that was easy. That was so easy. Is this even going to help people? But then I post it, and of course, people like it. People are like, this helped me so much. Like my latest Blender guide, I posted it like early this year, or yeah, I think it was early this year. Or maybe it was last year. Must have been early this year. It has hundreds of thousands of views, and it's taught a lot of people Blender, and a lot of people think, wow, this is really helpful. And I get comments almost every day on it. And that's an example of how whatever feels easy for you won't necessarily be easy for the viewer. So if you know how to code, like you know the basics of scripting, teaching that on YouTube is going to be valuable for people. Even if it's teaching somebody how to make a kill brick or leader stats or remote events, those are things that most people don't know. But there's a lot of people who want to know how to get into Roblox development, and you could be there to do that. Now, a lot of topics don't have a good video on it yet. There's so many different things in development that you could teach. And if you can find a need that's there and then fulfill it, you can help with a specific problem that hasn't been solved. And that's something that you can look into, right? You can look at specific topics and see if somebody's made a video on it before. And oftentimes there won't be one. Or it'll be like some dude in India without a good mic who's like not even an English speaker who nobody is able to watch in America because it's just hard to understand. Like I've heard that from some people who are trying to learn scripting is a lot of the tutorials, and it's not like there's a problem with them trying to make that, but it doesn't work for somebody in another country. You got any tips on learning Roblox Lua? Watch my guide first. It's called The Easiest Beginner Guide to Roblox Scripting. It's on top of my channel. And if you go to the homepage of my channel, or you go to the popular videos, you'll see it. It's helped a lot of people learn scripting. Start there. If you don't understand that, there's other methods. So really, you're trying to get a grasp of the fundamentals first. And after you have that, then it's a lot easier to just learn from AI, or learn from dev forum articles, or learn from documentation. So get that understanding of the fundamentals. And then for specific questions you have, ask AI what you don't know. Like, for example, say I explain variables to you, but you're like, I just don't understand what this is. How do I do variables? How do I do functions? How do I do whatever it is, right? Maybe it's just really hard for you to understand a certain concept. Have AI explain it to you. Explain this to me like I'm a 5-year-old, like the classic prompt that everybody does. Try that. And then if that doesn't work, if you aren't able to understand by having a conversation by AI, the last ditch method to learn scripting is to get a tutor. So get a human tutor on Discord, find somebody, pay them a little bit of money. Sometimes somebody will do it for free. Get that person. They'll be able to answer your questions one-on-one, explain it to you, get hands-on, figure out what's going wrong. And that's really the order of learning scripting. Start on YouTube. That's where most people are going to learn best. If that doesn't work, use AI. If that doesn't work, get a tutor. There's other methods. Everybody mentions them all the time. I think that they're getting more outdated, though. We talk about, tear apart free models. Learn from that. That kind of had a use in 2015, 2018 even. But now that we have AI, you'd be better off using that. Like, AI can teach you things. And there's a lot of different tools. There's very good models that OpenAI has made. There's some very interesting tools like the learning mode. And also AI can answer questions that haven't been answered before on the internet. So it's really going to be the best learning tool for you beyond a basics guide. And I use AI all the time in scripting. And it helps when, say, I don't know a certain concept because I don't know everything. It can write code for whatever that thing is, or it can also refresh me on things. Like maybe I need a refresh on a specific service in Roblox, or a certain way to use object-oriented programming. And then it can kind of do that for me, and I can also look at what it did and kind of learn from that. And AI is going to be the most adapted to your situation, other than a human tutor. Like a human tutor sometimes can just be better because of the communication. But for most people, AI, if you need specific questions asked, it's going to cover them now. AI is not the same as it was way back in 2022 at the very end when we first had ChatGPT 3.5. We now have ChatGPT 5.2. And ChatGPT 5.2 is extremely advanced. If you aren't using it as a dev, you're just deciding to fall behind everybody else at this point. That's all it is. I did a whole stream on this recently. You can watch it, whether you like AI or not. For a lot of you who don't, it's going to make you like it, because the reality is it can be used for so many things in development, more than just copy and paste. Like if you think that AI is about copy paste and that's it, you don't understand AI. That simple. There's going to be more videos on this coming soon. So this week, I actually have 2 AI videos coming out, one on Monday, one on Wednesday. So have notifications on for that. And we're also going to be adding more lessons to scripting secrets on AI. So join that as well. That's going to have a new 2025 path. So if you join Scripting Secrets, there's a new path in there for you to learn scripting. So that would be my next suggestion, is if you want that direct support from me too, you can ask me questions if you're inside of Scripting Secrets. I'm not going to sell it too hard today, but you can just join that below if you want. But next question. So that's scripting. There's a lot of different ways to learn it. Any of you here can figure it out. I'm certain. I don't think there's that many personality types that can't learn scripting. There's just a lot of excuses out there about why they can't learn it. Like, oh, it takes too much time. Oh, I don't know, it's just not for me. Like, I had the exact same excuses way back before I learned it, but they all fell away and dissipated the second I actually did it. And you're going to reach that moment where scripting just clicks for you, and you're going to be like, yes, Smarty was right all along. Because that's really what happens. You go, you watch a guide like mine, or the Dev Kings, or Brawl Dev, whoever you like, and that person guides you through the basics. It doesn't make sense the first time. You keep rewatching their guide. And soon enough, as you practice, as you try using the concepts and putting them together into scripts, it starts to work. So that's really the approach. And now that you have AI, you have zero excuse not to learn it. Because if I had AI way back in 2021 or the end of 2020 when I started learning it, I would have learned so much faster. In fact, I probably would have learned before that. I probably would have learned more like in 2019, 2018 even, if I had AI way back then. Because AI would have been able to show me how to code. It would have been able to show me that code doesn't have to be super long. It can be pretty short and simple. And it would have broken a lot of those beliefs that were making me resistant to trying to learn it and thinking I couldn't, which was nonsense. Would you recommend developing as a side hustle? I would recommend developing as a main hustle. I wouldn't call it a side hustle. I'd be wary of that, because the word side hustle makes you kind of think, oh, it's just kind of this thing on the side. I don't really have to try. Don't think of it that way. Think of it as one of your main interests, or as a business model you're doing. That's all I have to say about that. What do you think about top dev communities like Dev Market? Let's get a drink of milk. What a good stream drink. All right. What do I think about private communities? I don't care about communities, honestly. I would rather be out here managing my team and working on things and making videos, making new projects, using AI in novel ways than sitting around chatting in a Discord server. Like, yeah, I think networking is important, but if you're just obsessed with these Discord servers and all the new ones that come up, you're just chasing another high. You're chasing a new solution, a new secret, when all you need to do is ship. All you need to do is build. All you need to do is make things. All of this stuff, it's fancy. It can help you a little bit, but it's not the secret. I wouldn't even say that about my Discord server. My Discord server, Smarty Devs, will help you. Even Scripting Secrets, it will help you, but it will not fix your development situation unless you put the information into practice. If you have skills in scripting, they're useless unless you're making games, you're taking commissions, you're making dev content, you're doing something with them. And I think a lot of this Discord server obsession is just a waste of time. I don't know much about those specific ones, but if there were a reason to be in them, like a really good one, I think we'd know about it. What is the most important thing that the game needs to have to go viral? The most important thing a game needs to have to go viral is a good core loop. And a core loop is just the core actions that people take in your game repeatedly. After that, it's ensuring the game is engaging and you hit those benchmarks inside of your analytics. Besides that, before your game is produced, before your game is shipped, before your game is near getting out, you're just worrying about things that don't matter. Like, yeah, have a market validated idea, but then ship it and see what happens. And it's not going to work every time. Like my last game didn't work perfectly, right? It's data collection. It's information for the next game. We'll see how my meme shooter does. Development is not something where you just have one shot and then hopefully that game just blows up out of the blue. It's more so about taking a lot of shots. And then that increases your odds of having one that gets players. So yes, concept is important. Core loop's important. Engagement is important. Alignment with player psychology is important. All those things are good. But if you keep obsessing over those things forever, it's not going to help you. You just need to release something. Same thing as Discord servers, right? There's no perfect method. Yo, Smarty, I have a question. I am trying to make a... Yeah, we covered that one. Some of you guys are spamming. Just so you know, it makes me a lot less likely to answer your question if you're spamming it. Just to mention. All right, I gotta go in a little bit, but we're gonna cover one more question here. One more solid one. What's up, dude? What's up, Uncle Ricky? I see you on a lot of streams. Let's see. Yo, Smarty, I have a question. Dude. How do I want to get motivated into making more games, but I would like your rating and testing out on a stream for my first game. Yeah, we'll do a testing your game stream here eventually. We haven't done that one yet. Hello, I've been into Lua U exploit coding. Yeah, I don't answer questions about that. Get into Studio instead. Is that what you're asking? Yeah, switch over to Roblox Studio because it's not legit. Like you said, you already know. It helped. Hey, Smart. Yeah. What games are your greatest successes? Jimmy games so far. How far will most people make it as a developer? I won't ever make it big no matter how... Well, if you have that mindset that you won't ever make it big no matter how long you stay at it, yeah, you probably won't. You got to change that. Don't try to make it big right off the bat. Just try to make moves that push you forward. Like, that's what Roblox development career strategy is all about. It's about making simple games first because we aren't trying to make the most complex dream game ever. We're not trying to have the biggest win ever on day one, and that's fine, right? You can do that later. Try to get some small wins. Get commissions. That's how I started way back before my channel was bigger, before I had games that got millions of visits in Jimmy Games, before I had a full team like what I have now with people from the Philippines working weekly, working hard for me. Before I had all that and all the experience I have, I was taking commissions, and that was really cool because at 14, I made like $1,000, and I was like, "Whoa, that's quite a lot of money." When you're at 14 years old and you make $1,000 from commissions, it's a big win. It's a big win for where you're at, especially if you're new. So, don't just try to make it big instantly. Build up to that, and be okay with starting with commissions or something smaller first. All right, I'm gonna see you guys this week at our new AI videos. Again, updating scripting secrets. I'm not going to belabor the point on that, but that is available for you as well. I'll see you next time. We're going to be doing more streams like this. So